Hey guys, it's Bradford here. We're doing a tutorial on just how to use some of the commands in TableTop Simulator. I've got them written here. I know it's not super clean, but let's just get started. Once you're already in the game, you get a deck or two. You will go up to Objects and Saved Objects. This is where we can spawn the decks from. So I organize mine into folders, as you can see. I've got some starter deck bags, so maybe I will pull out a starter deck bag. That's one way to get something. And in this bag, I can just hit right click and search, and it'll let me search the bag. I can see there's an Alliance Warlock, Alliance Rogue, here's a Horde Death Knight. Let's just pull out Alliance Hunter. Sure, close that bag. That's loaded up. Another way I can load things is to, let's say I want to load a PvP deck. I can either just click the deck like this, and that usually spawns it in the middle of the table right here. So let me move that. Let's move that. And then you can also drag things out. Like if I want to drag this out, I can put it wherever I want. So that's how you get your decks out in the field. If you want to change the game board, you go up here to hit game, and that's where you could change it. But I've got all this stuff written out, so we're going to stay here for now. So now that we have some decks popped out, the first thing you'll notice, mouse movement is just something you got to get used to. Left mouse is how you pick things up. If you hold for a second, if you just immediately start moving things, it's how you move individual cards. But if you wait and hold, it will actually pick the whole deck up. And you'll see, if we change our perspective using P, here we go. Now you can see if we just start moving cards, it just pulls off one at a time, like that. One at a time. But if we hold, it will pick the object up, which is why it flies over everything. Alright. So let's hit P and change our perspective back. I like it top down like this. Okay, F is for flip. So if we've got our deck out, let's go ahead and get this pile. F will flip it, so let's pull a hero off the deck. Just grab that off. And we can see the deck is upside down. So F to flip the deck over. There we go. Again, that's F to flip. And while cards are in your hand, you can also flip. If I go up here to the top right and set my color to, let's say, red, suddenly I have a hand. So if I drag this card around, you see how there's this big red box that appears? That means that if you drop it in here, it will go into the player's hand. So as soon as I put it into the hand, see how it goes into my hand here? You can flip cards in your hand. Usually opponents can't see your cards unless you have something enabled, so you feel free to flip stuff, but if you need to play something face down, you need to flip it in your hand before you put it on the field. Otherwise, your opponents get to see it face up before you put it down. So F's for flip, you're going to use that a lot. Q and E to rotate. By default, if you just come into the game, Q and E will be rotating 15 degrees at a time, like this. So it takes a while to get anywhere. So the top, on the top right of the screen where it says rotation degrees, change that from 15 and go all the way up to 90. And now we can get the thing moving at a consistent angle. Okay, good. That's Q and E, that rotates. You can also group things together with Q and E and rotate both of them at the same time. And if you ever accidentally do that, then you'll know what's going on. You've grouped them together. You can see the highlight that goes around them. Next up, WASD is moving your camera around. If it's top down like this, it's pretty simple. But if you have change your perspective, which is P, well then you can still move your camera around with WASD, but then your right click controls the angle. And this is just annoying for me. If you're just playing a tabletop game, that's why I like the top down perspective. But and this is first camera perspective, so instead of being a person sitting at the table, you're now literally a camera flying around. So this is kind of a weird thing. So I'm going to press P and get out of that. Alright, next one is hold tab, or tap tab to ping, like this, tap tab. It puts little exclamation marks everywhere, and they're temporary. And they're not tagged, you can move whatever is pinged. But it makes the same noise for everyone. That noise. It makes the noise so people learn to look over there, and if we zoom in, you can see tabbing does put arrows. In case your opponent has a camera like this, they'll be able to see it for sure. So that's tap tab to ping, hold tab to draw a line. So if we tap for ping, you can hold to draw a line. And sometimes that's a good way to get people to pay attention, especially if they're like on their phone or alt tabbed. If you are trying to attack someone, you like tab or Q and E to turn the person sideways. Tap tab to get their attention, and then say like I'm swinging here. That's one way to do it. Or you can just tap, draw a line. I'm hitting that dude. You know, that's one way to do it. Sometimes when you hold tab, it leaves it as this ruler. If you look on the left side of the screen, we can see it actually changes what we've highlighted. So it's by default it's the hand, but we're holding tab to this ruler. Sometimes it like bugs out and just keeps the ruler. So like no matter what, everything you click is just the ruler. You can just change back to the hand by going up here, clicking it, or you can just hit F1 to get your fingers back. Give me those fingers. Okay, R to randomize a roll. So here's a deck right now. If we flip it over, we can see this card. If I hit R, we just shuffled the deck. Again. And if we have a dice, like right here, I can just pull this dice off the infinite bag with my left click. Just pull that out. And if I want to roll, don't pick it up, leave it on the table and hover over it and press R. R is for randomizer roll. So there you go. You can also roll a whole group of dice if you just group them like this together and hover over the group and press R. I guess you don't really have to hover. If you've got them all highlighted, it does the same thing. And it will also add the dice together if you need that for whatever weird reason. We've also got plus or minus to scale object size. So sometimes you put something on the board and your opponent just can't see it or something like that. He can zoom into it with Alt, but you can also just hold down plus or minus. So plus or minus will change the size of things for everyone in the game. And sometimes if you have a stack like this, how we have 60 cards here, if I drop the hero on top, it might scale it down. So it like auto scales things. So that's plus or minus to scale objects. It works on dice too. Sometimes some tables have like tiny dice. They're good on this table, but sometimes I'll just blow them up real big. Like if you're playing the boss in a raid, sometimes you just want a huge dice. Okay, that's plus or minus to scale the object. Hold Alt will zoom in on an object, so you can't read this, just hold Alt. Hey, there it is, it's big. By default, it zooms into like that size, something like that. So if you hold Alt and mouse wheel, scroll in or out, mouse wheel in, blows it up pretty big. And everything will show up like that, just holding down Alt. So, you know, it's easier to let go of Alt when you're trying to look at everything and just to zoom in sometimes. Okay, so that's the Alt to see. And mouse wheel and the Alt, so you get the zoom level. Control C, copy. You can copy things in this game, which is useful if you have like a big dice you need to copy. There you go. We can just hover over it, hit Control C, and then paste some more. Oops. We'll get to that then. We'll get to that one in a minute. So Control C and Control V to copy and paste. You can cut and paste, which is Control X, but I almost never see that. So it's mostly copy and paste. And you just hit delete to delete things. Don't accidentally delete your deck because you have to load it again, and then you have to like pull out the cards, and it just messes things up. So don't delete your deck on accident. G to group. So if you make a big StarCraft box like this, holding down left click, like if let's say you accidentally pull all the cards of your deck out for whatever reason, or someone was looking on your deck, right? They're like, oh, what's your deck about? And they were just rude and they just left it in a pile. Just StarCraft box around it and G to group, and there you go, it groups it together. You can also take, if you have a stack of cards like this, like let's say this was your graveyard and this is your deck and the game's over and you want to regroup them, you can hover over a group like this, or just highlight it like that with a StarCraft box. And since it's still highlighted, the next thing you group with, it'll group this into. So let's say this is our graveyard, this is our deck. We highlighted the graveyard, hover over the deck and press G, and it groups it together. So again, if this is like our resource row, we can group these together, flip them over. So at the end of the game, our opponent just beat us. We can just grab these, hover over the main deck, and group, and it'll flip them for us. So it's a real easy way to do that. Slash is to see key bindings. So here you go. That's it. I mean, if you forget all this stuff, just press slash in game. But there's a lot of crap on here. The main things you're going to need is this here. I told you most of it. If you chat in the game, the command is C, like Charlie. You can see at the top right, my mic's active. That's voice chat, and everyone can hear it by default. If you press V, like Victor, that is team voice. So C, Charlie is for normal voice. V, Victor is for team voice only, which people don't usually go on teams, but that's when you go up here to change team. You can put like one of these things on. So usually just use Charlie to voice chat. That's mostly key bindings. Let me know if you find anything else useful. Here's those key bindings in action real quick. Let's say we're going to play against nobody. Let's just hit objects, and we go to saved objects, and we'll spawn, let's say, this Deathwish Warrior. Sure. Just drag it in, let it load for a second. We'll put the hero here. Sometimes some decks have a 10-card sideboard, and you just set that to the side. Don't worry about that for the main game. Here's our deck, and we want to press F to flip it over, because it needs to be face down. And then we'd shuffle our decks up. Just press R a couple times. Please don't do it like 20 times, that's annoying. And then our opponent, we both roll dice, so he'd roll, I would roll. He got a 2, I got a 1. Yeah, I got beat by nobody. So, whatever, I guess he'd go first. And then we draw afterwards. So I just hovered my hand over the deck and pressed 7. It draws that many cards. If you need to draw 2 cards, don't press 1-1, because occasionally the input lag will make you draw 11, and that's really annoying. So just press 2 if you need to draw 2. Alright, so with this hand, sure, let's just say we keep. And for our turn, we would play a quest face down. Let's say our opponent went first. We would actually draw 1. So hover over the deck, press 1. There's our card. And let's say we play this resource and pass. Opponent goes, back to our turn. We can hit untap here. If anything is tapped, like let's say we did attack, we can just hit untap, and it'll untap all that stuff. If this button's not working, it's because you're not the right color. Untap buttons are coded so only the player of that color can use them, so no one else can screw with your stuff. Alright, so I draw 1 for the turn, hover over the deck, press 1. Choose a face-down resource. Probably not going to need that card draw, so there we go. I just press F in my hand to flip it like that, and then I drag it out so my opponent doesn't know what card I resourced. I don't want him to know that I have a bunch of card draw in my hand, so flip it first before you send it out. For 2 mana, maybe I just pay 2, which is E and E to tap that way. I can also tap the other way with Q and Q, but it doesn't really matter that much. I will go ahead and pay 2 and play this Death Wish, and then I will press E to tap the Death Wish, and E to tap my hero to indicate I want to attack, and then I'll tap Tab, get my opponent to pay attention, and draw a line at his hero. And if he's there, he'll go click, 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 and add 3 damage. Okay, he does his turn, whatever, we do ours. Let's hit untap, press 1 to draw. There it is, got a little delay. Now let's just start off by playing a quest, make this easy. And then we're like, oh, this hand is mostly 4 drops, so I guess let's just hold up this interrupt. We'll just activate Death Wish with E, tap our hero with E, tab to draw a line, swing for 3 more. We take 3 back this time. I guess the last time 2. Alright, our opponent goes, he does some stuff, he plays something, we want to interrupt, let's tap 3. So pay your mana before you cast your spells, guys. And there we go. I'll just put this out. The easiest place, I think, to put, like, the play area up here is for permanents, and this is for your resources. I like to put things on the stack up here in this little blank zone, because when you put your cards here and you're like, I'm casting this, it's like all these friggin' boxes, you know, I can't see that thing, so just put it up here where it says play area. Please, please just do this. Thank you. That's pretty much it. I don't think you're going to learn too much else from this. I'm sure maybe I'll complete a quest. Alright, let's say for my turn I drew this quest. I play the quest, hold Alt if I want to read it, and we can zoom in with our scroll wheel. So here we go, let's zoom all the way in. It's pay 2, choose a rarity, so we'll just say rarity blue. And so we'll pay 2, so EE, tap any of these, and then flip the quest over. And it says reveal the top 3, so I'll pull 3 of them out like this, group them all together, and press F to flip them. Here we go. I can just zoom my actual camera in with the mouse. Sometimes that's fine. Another weird one is the M for Magnifier. And you can actually zoom in or out of the magnifier as well. It's kind of cool, but I don't know how useful it is. It's usually easier just to hold Alt. So we pay 2. We get to pick one of these that's blue. All 3 are blue. Go us. Sure, we'll just take this sword or something. The rest of these go in the bottom of the deck. So there's 2 ways to do this. We can just press F to flip the deck over. Drag the cards over one by one. Flip the deck over. Technically, you're getting information from the bottom if you're really worried about that stuff. So another way to do that, let's say these 2 cards are out. We talked about how whenever you left-click a card, it picks it up. But if you left-click a card and then hold right-click, it holds it on the table like this, and it kind of like pushes stuff around. So press P, I'll change it back to this perspective, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Because these cards need to go to the bottom of the deck. So if I hold this card with left-click and right-click, it starts to push the other cards. Weird, huh? So we can left-click, hold it so it hovers over the stuff, bring it over to the deck. We want to press F to flip it so it's face down. And then instead of having to flip the whole deck and do all that, we can do the left-click and right-click, and it'll slide it under the deck like this. There we go. So just left-click will hover over everything, bring it over here, press F to flip, and then left and right-click down together, we'll slide it under the deck. There you go. And I've even heard if you have several cards out like this, you can push them in together. So let's try that. So we'll left and right click to put this one into push mode, and we'll slide this other card under. That does not work. Don't do that. But 1 card at a time will do it. Okay. So I did complete the quest, but let's say in the middle of this quest, we were like, oh crap, I forgot what it does. You could just flip the quest over with F, or if you want to see the bottom of a card, Alt and Shift. That's one you forget sometimes. Alt Shift. So hold Alt, and then press Shift, and now you can see the bottom of it. And it leaves this little eyeball here. See it? And your opponents will be able to tell if you've pressed the eyeball, because it leaves the eyeball on there. So like they'll know if you're looking at your resources. You're like, dude, stop looking at my stuff. That's cheats. I don't need you to know that I played a Bloody Ritual. You cheats. All right, I think that's most of this deck. When you're cleaning things up, sometimes it's just easier to just grab everything and hit delete. That way it's just gone and then just spawn the deck again, because it's quick and easy. Or if you're old-fashioned, you just want to drag it together, you can group all of it like this and press G. It'll group everything into the deck. But hey, it's missing 8 cards. Those cards are in your hand, so let's grab the hand like that. And especially if your opponent makes you do a discard effect, that's the best thing to do. Come down here, StarCraft box around your hand. Oops. There we go. And then pull that whole hand. Don't put it here. Let me show you what happens if you put it here. We have 6 cards in our hand. Watch what happens if I drop it. Kind of puts in this messy stack. Some of them even slot all the cards into these things. So like you'll have 6 cards and suddenly you'll be down to like 3 or 4 because it slotted them into these auto snap boards. So just bring them off to the side like this. Or even up here in the middle so your opponent can just pick one. But then you end up sitting them on dice like that. Ugh, see, that's why you want to like clear this area up. That was my card from the graveyard, so that goes here. Yeah, now we have to just pull all these cards back out one by one. And this is the annoying kind of stuff you're going to run into. Just try and keep this area pretty clear. Keep the dice. You don't have to put the dice back in the bag every time you use it, but don't leave them all over the place here. Just keep them like off to the side. That way they're keeping the play area clean. So you can keep your spells on the stack. So that's our hand. Let's say our opponent, put one of these in the discard, and then we just take our hand, and we can put it back in our hand. Some opponents, if they do like a Thoughtseize effect that gets to see your hand, they totally allowed to do this. They can see your hand, hit Control-C, and make a copy of it, and then come over here and they can paste it so that they have access to it later. If we're playing over the blue player, we don't want it upside down, so you can just grab an entire group like that, and then hit E to rotate it. And then maybe for whatever reason, this opponent wants to mark Shuriken because he knows it's an interrupt. So he's going to just hold plus and make it real big. These are things he's allowed to do. No one can tell him no. So now he won't forget about Shuriken. He'll remember I have to play around that card. Or hopefully he'll remember he just put like a giant book there. So let's say back to our turn. Our opponent discarded something, whatever. We can just drag this back into our hand. Or if the game is over, these are like our resources. Just grab it all together, and then G back into the main deck. And we're down a card. I don't know what that's from, because we've been screwing around, so that's okay. And that's why if you're ever like, I'm down 1 card, like, I don't want to go find that. Just spawn the deck again. Just go up to Objects, Saved Objects, PvP for me, and we'll spawn Deathwish. Let's just drag it out. Great. That's how that works. If you want to change the game table, this is considered the game table. You can see the background gets all weirded out when the camera is up and top down, but if you press P again, it becomes a normal background. It's just, you're basically making it a 2D game. So let's hit games to spawn the new board. So games, all this stuff from the default comes up there. It's kind of annoying. And then if you want to spawn like actual WoW TCG stuff, go to Workshop. This is where it stores all your stuff. If you don't have any of this, which you won't because you'll be new, just go to Browse. Let that load up. And then search in the search bar here. I don't think this is loading for you guys. Oh well, there's a black search bar. You just need to type WoW TCG, WoW space TCG, and in that search bar you'd be able to, well, in that Steam window you should be able to see everything in there. But I don't think the recording worked there. Sorry, but that's where you get these boards from. Both of those are on the bottom of page 2. This is the 1v1 board. It's the player's name who did it is like Alex, so just look for Alex. With some other letters, and then come over here to games if you want to load another one. So this is the 1v1 board. The rating board we use is this picture of books. It's called World of Warcraft TCG Raid Table. Just click that and hit load. The games go real slow for a second for everyone. So just let that all load up. And here we are on the raid board. And if a player wants to play a color in the top right, they just click their name, pick a color. So change color. I'll say I want, yellow. Camera spins me around. I'll remind myself I like P. P to go top-down mode. Press P to go top-down. So there we go. And then maybe I'm like, oh right, I'm gonna play the raid actually. So I'll change color and go back to red. And then let's see if we get to a point where there's a bunch of players in the game and they need me to see their hands for something, or I'm just showing them how to play. If I go to the top right, I can change my team to like spades. There we go, I'm spades. And then if my green guy, if let's say he goes spades, I'll be able to see the cards in his hand, he can see the cards in my hand. Some people, I think it's easy for raids to do this, that way they can ask each other questions, and if they don't know how a card works, they should just ask the partner next to them, they can just show them the card. And then to leave a team, just go up there and you can turn it off to none. If you're the mod of the game or the owner of the game, you can set teams for anyone, so just keep that in mind. You can also change their colors. Sometimes when you look at colors, there's gray, which is spectator, they get no powers, they can't do anything in the game. And then there's black, which is the game master, they get to see everyone's hand. So that's what they can do. They're like the GM, whatever. I'm going to press P again to show you. These are actually well, let's change my color back to red. Alright, let's zoom in. These are the raids from WoW. We've got Naxxramas. Let's flip that. Oh, that didn't help. I flipped the box. Oh well. Here we go. Battle of the Aspects. That's the Deathwing raid. Here's Icecrown Citadel with the Lich King. These two are customs. Dead Minds of Old. This one's really hard. And then Shadowfang Keep. This one's a lot easier. It's kind of cool. It's got some fun mechanics. It's not too hard. Over here, these are all official dungeons. Molten Core. That's Onyxia. Molten Core. Magtheridon's Lair. Black Temple. And I skipped Caverns of Time. Caverns of Time is another self-run one. If you go through the games in the workshop, you can find a couple others in there too. That's pretty much how the raids are stored. These are all set up nicely by a guy named Spitfire, or if you see him in Discord, it's Nux SD. Here's how these work. He took his time out and he made a custom raid board. See how it says place raid kit here? Well, it doesn't matter how we used to do it. How we do it now is really clean. You just go to the box. Here's my hand. We're going to go over here to the Onyxia box and slowly just hold down click, and then pull out something immediately. If you just hold down click, you'll just move the box around. That doesn't matter. Just leave it here. We're just going to click in there and pull out immediately. So click, pull. Here is the Onyxia board. And Nux made a different board for every one of these. So to show you an example, that's Onyxia. Here's Magtheridon. They're all color themed, and then he changed the template for each one based on what you need. Let's say you're playing Battle of the Aspects. This one's faced towards the players because it runs itself, so no one has to sit over here. So this is pretty neat. You can see all these have different boards, and if you're like, ooh, I pulled the wrong board out, it's kind of hard, but just try and drag it so it's centered over the box and drop it back in, and it'll go back in the box. So like here, I don't need Magtheridon's board. Magtheridon's is right there, so I just want to drag it right about there. Hope it goes in. I think it did. Alright, so now we got this Onyxia board, but the board's not locked down. It's kind of annoying, so we can just drop it back. We can either press L to lock it, L, and that will lock the board. See how I can't grab it anymore? But if I press L again, that'll unlock it. Now I can move it everywhere. I don't really want to move it anywhere, so you do want to press L to lock. Or another way to lock it is to right-click it, go to toggles, and the first thing says lock. There you go. And if you're ever on a board where you don't like if you hate this bag of dice, you can just toggle, unlock it, and just delete it. So that works for most boards. Alright, let's pull out some more stuff. Onyxia's Lair's got, we can see over here in the bottom left, it says 4, and then Onyxia's Lair raid deck. 4 is the number of items left in this box. I can also right-click the box and hit search, and we can see what's in here. Usually they don't have pictures, that's normal, but you can see the names. One's just called 1, Main Deck, Event Deck, and Mini Whelps. Let's just drag them out normally, that's fine. You can see as you're dragging, it has to load. Try not to drag a bunch of stuff at the same time. Just let them load, because it has to load for everyone. You'll slow other people's computers down, and cryptocurrencies made prices for gaming computers go through the roof, so we're all going to be stuck for a little bit. Okay, I did exactly what I said not to, but anyways, let's pull the boss. Let's just drag her and drop her into the boss slot, and that is a snap slot. You can see how she kind of snaps in there. Let's drag the main deck over here where it says main deck. I can press M to zoom into that and show you. Here it is. Ooh, I can even use it. Well, so I'll put the main deck there. We've got an event deck. Let's just drag both of these over there. We'll figure out where they go. Event deck. All right. Event deck goes here. Mini Whelps. We'll just leave that over here. And it's just 40 whelps. That's all that's in there. So there's plenty that we can toss in. And it'd be the boss's turn. And also, in order to set up turns, go up to options. If you're the leader of the game, I don't know if anyone else is allowed to do it, but if you're the leader, you can. Hit options, then go to turns. Usually, all this stuff is just set by default, and just go up here to the top and hit this check mark. Will turn it on. You can rearrange the colors and all that stuff, but just default is usually great. And when it's someone's turn, there's a green star next to their name, and then when they're done, they hit end turn. In this case, I'm the only guy in the game, so it just keeps becoming my turn. But if someone up there is like asleep or AFK, you as the game master can skip their turn for them. You'll see the between 5 players or something. If you hit the star, it'll go to the next guy, star, 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 star. Now it's back to whoever. Okay, that's most of the controls for this. Hopefully that helps you guys. Just keep in mind, if you ever respawn a game board, it wipes the current thing. You can save games. You just gotta go over here to save and load. And I think it makes you save it like a couple times. I'm not really sure how that format works, but just type it in and save it, and you'll at least find it, even if you end up saving it a couple times. That's useful in case like you want to save everyone's deck. Another thing you can do is if you're changing boards, like let's say I decided I don't really want to play on this board, I can just make a big box around my Onyxia stuff, hit Control C to copy it. Now I can load a different board, like I can load this 8-player board. Just giving it a second. Now I can hit Control V, and it just pasted everything out from the other board. And now I gotta play in this one, so I don't really have a reason for coming here. But whatever, that's just another command that can be useful. Okay, I'm gonna head out. I hope you guys enjoyed that.